Built in the 517 is a podcast about the people who make our local business community what it is. In each episode, host Katrina Hofstetter sits down with business owners from across mid-Michigan to hear their stories, their challenges, and what it really takes to build something from the ground up. The show exists to spotlight local leaders, support small businesses, and strengthen the connections that keep our communities thriving. Here's your host, Katrina Hofstetter.
Welcome. I'm your host, Katrina Hofstetter, and this is Built in the 517. This is the podcast that brings stories that inspire you, encourage you, and introduce you to your next favorite local business. My guest today is Carrie Rathbun Hawks, and she's the owner of Rathbun Public Relations. I just want to thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting. You've had some great people on before, and I'm honored to be in the lineup.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I was really interested to learn more about you and what you're doing with what you've been doing with your business. And as a mom myself, I was really, I was really drawn to what kind of motivated you to start your business and when you did that. So could you just share a little bit about that to get started?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Oh my gosh, thinking back, we were about 6 months pregnant, and we were on our way back home from a visit to my in-laws in Illinois, and I was talking to my husband about how, I was pretty sure I wanted to still work after we had our child, and we didn't know boy, girl at that point. We didn't want to know. And I said, so we referred to what ended up being a boy. His name is Brady, but referred to it as Baby Hawk. So I said, once Baby Hawk comes along, I have seen my girlfriends give up their jobs because they were sure they were going to want to be a full-time mom. And I have also seen them say, no, I'm going to keep working, and their employers held their jobs for them. And then baby came along and they ended up flip-flopping. Oh my goodness, I don't want to be a full-time mom. I need to go
Yeah.
back to work. Or I can't be here. I need to be with my child.
Yep.
Very respectable either way. And I said, I just don't know how I'm going to feel, but I love what I do. And so
Mhm.
I'd like to think that I'd want to keep working. And he said, so why don't you go out on your own? I said, oh my gosh, no, too much risk. I don't know if I want to do that. And he said, well, I have a, full-time steady, good income with benefits. So we've got room to make an office for you. You've got a great Rolodex. You know a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think you should consider going on your own. So we talked about it, prayed about it. Went to some confidants about it, and we decided that, yeah, was something I thought I could make a go of. And so I went to my employers at the time, and they were very supportive and very understanding. I gave them lots of notice. And because I wanted to do it the right way, I didn't want to burn a bridge. I didn't want to leave them hanging. I also wanted us to be able to plan and prepare as well and find daycare and have all that taken care of, because that was, that could be a real challenge.
Mhm.
That was 24 years ago, and it still is to this day. And so that's how I got started being on my own. And when Brady was about 3 months old, I decided I was ready to
Mm.
start again. And so he went to daycare one day a week. And I started working, and I was very, very fortunate that my previous employer, another agency, gave me my first client
Oh,
and
wow.
had me come back and subcontract on clients I had been managing when I was
Hmm.
there for a while. And I mean, it was just a wonderful relationship and a wonderful way to start and ease into it. And
Yeah.
I haven't looked back since.
Mm. I love that you had the flexibility to decide, in that moment, am I going to go back to work? Am I not going to do that? Because not everybody has that benefit. And so it really shows that you have a lot of passion about doing this kind of work, that it was such a big decision. You indicated in your the submission form that you sent when you provided some information that, like, creating a message for clients, the right message is really important to you. And I'm just wondering, what does that process look like? If somebody wants to work with you and strategize, can you just briefly walk through what that process looks like?
Sure. In public relations, we're taught what's called the four-step process.
Okay.
And it starts with research and then planning and then implementation and then evaluation. So it starts with research, and in a way, it ends with research because evaluation is a way of still researching, really.
Sure.
So you want to look at your materials, you want to look at your messaging, you want to look at your audience. You want to understand what they understand about you, what their perceptions are of you, what the competitive landscape is. And when I started my career, we didn't have the technology we have today. We didn't have the
Right.
internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't
Yeah.
have any of that. And so it was you did a lot more face to face, a lot more things like
Mhm.
focus groups and
Yeah.
executive interviews, all of which are still very useful today. I will say that my old seasoned veteran friends and I, which we are now in that group, um, though I don't feel it and I can't quite believe it, we'll talk about the fact that those basic building blocks without technology still work. They still
Mhm.
work very effectively. So you really have to go to that step ideally and find out what you know or what you don't know, and whether your assumptions about whether people understand you and are receiving your messages or not and understanding them or not, because you otherwise are sort of just you can really be shooting from the hip, which doesn't always work well. You
Mhm.
might be right about your assumptions that you're making about your audience and
Right.
saying and doing the right things that they're good with, but you might not be, and you might be spending a lot of time and money on it
Yeah.
and finding out it's not effective. And so I work with a client to I look at what are they doing now. I ask a lot of questions, who, what, when, where, why. I ask if they have any other data. I will almost always suggest some sort of research, whether it's primary or secondary. Maybe they just did a research doc of some kind of survey of some kind not too long
Right.
ago, and it's perfectly relevant and still current enough to be at least a starting point. And we go through that and we figure out, well, what are your goals? Do you have a business plan? Do you have a strategic plan? Have you ever written a communication plan?
Right.
Where are you with that? And inevitably you find out, well, we don't really have one, or we haven't updated it, or maybe they do, but they just haven't filled in that part, or they
Mhm.
feel like they're not getting traction. And so I ask a lot of questions, we do the research, and we come back with all that data and we figure out, okay, where do we need to go from here? And I love it if I can say it's working, it's great. People think you're fabulous.
Right.
That's always wonderful, but there's usually more to it than that.
Right.
And so it might seem rather basic at times, but sometimes that's what we have to go back to be
Yeah.
effective. That's what we have to go back to.
So I feel like coming into this, I didn't know a whole lot about really what all was encompassed in public relations. And as you're describing this to me, it sounds like kind of a combination of, like you said, the research element, learning about the client, but then also putting a plan in place.
Yes.
And I think I've always thought of PR work as being the plan, how are we going to address the situation? How are we going to work on the image of someone or something?
Right.
But it feels like there's a little bit more to it. So how would you explain what some of those services are that you're providing once you've done the research? What are the ways that you can help people and businesses?
Yeah, my grandparents used to say, "So what do you do? What is that?" So there is a joke amongst us that you gotta sometimes explain it like you're talking to your grandparents. It is kind of true because there used to be public relations, which is defined as two-way communication or building relationships with your audiences through two-way communication. So it's the push and the pull. Advertising, which is usually paid methods of pushing
Yeah.
information out to people that you want. Marketing, which is supporting a sales effort usually in an advertising effort or complementing an advertising effort.
Okay.
And then, they used to kind of be on islands. Now they can be very integrated largely because of technology. So when it comes to public relations, the purity of it, it really is about knowing who your audiences are,
Mhm.
what your story is, what your message is, what is your goal, and how are you going to build those relationships with people in a way that they feel they have they can come to you
Mhm.
and they're seen and heard by you because you have
Okay.
this way of giving and taking from one another.
Right.
So it could be things like media relations, so storytelling, earned media, the stories that you see
Mm.
on TV or
Yeah.
in the newspaper or online, social media, digital media, like what's in your website. Uh,
Mhm.
it could be events, could be crisis communication,
Right.
internal communications with your staff, communications like donor communications. So even
Okay.
fundraising and
Mhm.
philanthropy, there's a communication aspect to that because you
Yeah.
need to know your donors. You got to build those
Right.
relationships to raise money. So there, PR is a big wide world, but if you think about it, it comes down to relationships through communication, and there's all kinds of ways to communicate with people.
Yeah. So I think kind of the media glamorizes PR work and movies and such that makes it seem like it's only for maybe a bigger business or a
Right.
bigger outfit or like a nonprofit, a politician, something like that. But are there small businesses that do or can benefit from PR work?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's true that unfortunately in PR, it used to be called the derogatory term was a spin doctor
Oh,
because it was that you're not telling the truth, you're spinning things and twisting them so that it's only positive, it's only the good. And it is a persuasive
yeah.
practice. It is. And you are protecting or building the image of an organization or a person. But there are ethics to it. We have a code of ethics. Those of us that are accredited, like I am, that have an APR, who are members of the Public Relations Society of America, we have a code of ethics that we follow. And not everybody does that. But yes, small business, large business, nonprofits, membership organizations all have the need for PR communications, just may take different forms. So I've worked with small businesses before. I don't so much anymore. But it might be something whereby they've got some really cool stories to tell, and the local media, they just need relationships with local media and getting on some talk shows or some podcasts nowadays,
Yeah.
or getting someone to come to a ribbon cutting they're having
Yeah.
and doing an interview.
Right.
They might be expanding and starting something new or adding a new location, or their staff might be really growing, or they've created a new product. And there's a story to be told there, and there are audiences, maybe there are investors, maybe they're a nonprofit that has donors that have helped them to get to that point. And so again, you think of who your audiences are and what it
Right.
is you want them to understand and know about you, and how do you best do that? And it might be through the media, but it also might be in other ways. It might be having people in, say you are a business that they do cooking classes and they have other things in
Okay.
their business. They might do advertising and have a social presence, but they also allow groups to come in and have private parties at
Okay.
their business, and
Yeah.
chefs will do little cooking demonstrations, or they'll have a special cocktail that they show you how to make. And
Hmm.
they'll give you a discount as you shop in their store, and they'll tell you their story. And that's PR
Yeah.
because exposing it, it's telling your story and building relationships with people. And so there's lots of ways that PR can play a part in all different types of businesses.
Yeah. There's this common theme that I'm hearing from you, this like storytelling. We're telling this story about the businesses or about something that they're doing. And I know you also do motivational speaking, and I'm thinking that that also is like you're telling a story, I would assume, in some way when you're doing those events. So what kind of topics do you typically talk about? Is it still PR related when you do the motivational speaking, or is it something else?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes they're educational. They're more of a workshop or a breakout session or something. I do media training. I might do crisis training, internal communications training.
Okay.
So it could be things very much related to public relations. But I also do talk about the the way that PR can work, and I will share case studies and stories, examples from clients that I've worked with over the years. I'm going on 35 years now in the field. And so I have a lot that I can share
Mhm.
that show kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly
Yeah.
of how you can do this. And they're all still relevant, even if it was from one of my early days when I was really green 35 years ago. Um, but yes, I also talk about a lot about women's empowerment and women's leadership.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm launched this summer is called Learning to Live with the Dandelions, Resilience in Life and Leadership. And I did those in July, and it was I have been through a lot of ups and downs in my life, as has everyone. And I have always felt it was really important to share the things that have happened to me. Call it partly that I just wear my heart on a sleeve, that I'm a what you see is what you get person. I like to be generous with my time and helping other people. I'm a see a need, fill a need person. It's, to the point where I'm sure my husband sometimes wants to just sort of, can I sit at another table? She's talking about that again. But I'm a two-time breast cancer survivor. My
Mm.
mother was a prescription drug painkiller addict.
Oh.
I had a history of alcoholism in my extended family. I have had my own mental health struggles. I'm a neurodivergent. Being a mom and starting a business with essentially a newborn, making the
Yeah.
decision to do that, seeing things my husband has gone through in his career journey that were so unexpected that it just threw us for an absolute loop.
Mm.
Never saw it coming. All the things you go through as a parent. My son is
Yeah.
24 and adulting and on his own now and lives in another state. But the ups and downs that brings,
Yeah.
and being a woman in business, um,
Hmm.
I'm an ATHENA certified facilitator with ATHENA International, which is pretty cool. I work through their ATHENA Leadership Institute to do ATHENA leadership circles for women, and I can have combined groups with men as well. And those things, being able to talk about those things really fills my soul, and I see how they can impact other people and
Yeah.
how people feel empowered, women especially, because we sadly still live in a time where we feel like we shouldn't talk about those things, or we should be doing this, we should all over ourselves. Okay,
Yeah.
we're too all about it, ladies. And we have to get past that. And it's hard. I am certainly not beyond it. But I tie a lot of that in um, with other research that I've read and things that I have looked into to go with my story. And my goal is to, if I can inspire and empower even a couple of people to leave the room to feel like, wow, whatever I'm facing now, I can get through it. I
Mhm.
can get to the other side and be stronger
Yep.
and be more confident. I can have faith in myself and be more authentic, advocate for myself or for others,
Yep.
then I will have achieved my goal. Because I've seen people do it, and people who walked with me through very, very difficult times.
Mm.
And hindsight is 2020. And there's a reason they say that, because it means something. And I just feel like I'm called to share. I'm a very faithful person, and I really feel that I'm called to share this, to do this with other people. I have a talent that God blessed me with as a communicator and a speaker and a writer. And I feel like I'm at that point in my life where it's sort of part of Carrie 2.0. When a friend told me a long time ago, you're looking for Carrie 2.0, and you'll know it when you find it. And he was right. And I believe I found it. And so I feel like it would be a waste to keep it to myself, and there's no
Yeah.
shame in it.
Yep.
And I also want women especially to know there's no shame in this. And we have got to get rid of so many stigmas. And if we
Yes.
talk about it, we aren't going to.
Yeah. And you having the experiences, the skills, the courage to be one of the people that stands up and talks about these things and is open, that is just going to continue to inspire other women to keep doing that. So that's really amazing to kind of have all of that wrapped into one person. You mentioned Athena, and I did want to ask you about that. So I'm sure that there's going to be viewers that don't even know what Athena is. So could you just share what it is, and then also um, just how, I guess, how working with Athena has kind of impacted you overall?
Sure. So ATHENA International was founded in Lansing, Michigan at the Lansing Regional Chamber in 1982 by a woman named Martha Mayhood Mertz. And she was told that women don't need to have a voice,
Mhm.
and women aren't leaders. She came from that generation. And even in 1982, you'd think we would have been still past that, but nope, she was still sitting in meetings and boardrooms and things where men were talking over her, where she was never called on when she raised her hand. She would say something and then somebody else would take credit for the idea. And she just finally said, forget this. No, this is going to change, and I'm going to make a change. And she gradually built Athena, and it started with the Athena Leadership Award. And the Lansing Chamber has been doing that since 1982, and now also has the PowerLink program. But that program, Athena International, became international because other communities around the country started to give out these Athena Leadership Awards, and it became a licensed thing and a revenue generating thing. And it became its own nonprofit when it started the Athena Leadership Institute. It started with the Athena Leadership Award. I'm very blessed myself to be an Athenian. My statue is right up on the top of my table behind me. That was in 2018. And you don't win that award. You receive that award. It's very humbling. I was blown away, surprised. I received it from the Shiawassee Regional Chamber of Commerce, which is one of the first chambers to become part of the Athena Community Partner Network in 1988. And they look at the 8 principles of leadership that Martha created, and it's live authentically, learn constantly, um, advocate fiercely, foster collaboration, act courageously, give back, celebrate, build relationships. And they look for women, and there are a few men who have received it around the world. There are more than we're nearing 8,400 Athenians in 13 countries now.
Wow.
And we are in 48 states or territories, and there are something like 540 what we call award regions or communities that they might not necessarily give out the award, but they do some kind of program that is based on the Athena principles.
Okay.
Within that, eventually they grew the Athena Leadership Institute, and that is the side where they do the leadership circles. They used to be called cohorts, and they're now called leadership circles. And that's a program where it's the and this is where I'm a certified facilitator for it, and this is my 4th year of doing it. I'll be starting my 6th leadership circle this fall at the end of September.
Okay.
And we look at those, we dive into those 8 principles. And we also take the results of what's called the predictive index that each woman who registers for the course takes. And you answer 2 questions with the same list of words for each question. And it's this uncannily accurate reading of who you are what your hardwired leadership style is, as well as what kind of leader you're striving to be. And
Okay.
there's no right or wrong, good or bad. And we work that in, and you that's it becomes a very personalized, introspective, and empathetic journey that's meant to empower and uplift
Okay.
women and girls. We have this at the high school level, middle school level, higher ed
Wow.
for men, for Indigenous people. We have a special cohort for Indigenous people and for women in technology.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
so there's a lot to Athena International,
Yeah.
and people think that, oh, I go to the Athena Win. I'm a member of Athena Win through the Lansing Chamber, for example. Or, for example, I helped found a group through the Shiawassee Chamber called Inspired Women Network. And there are these localized networking groups that are based on the Athena principles. And
Right.
people, when I mentioned something about the cohort leadership circles, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm already in that. I'm already part of that." And I'll ask them a couple more questions, and then they realize that we're talking about two different things, that I'm
Okay.
talking about the mothership
Yeah.
up here, and as opposed to what is a localized networking and professional
Yeah.
development. So very different things, but based on the same principles
Yep.
of uplifting women. And so I'm very passionate about my work with Athena and my work with women in general, and definitely would love to talk to anyone who's interested in it at all, because women, every group is different, which means I don't get bored with it. And it fills my soul to see women transform and to see them become vulnerable and more transparent in this safe space that we create, in the things that get shared in breakout groups and in large group discussions. And as they do their homework and they think about their values and the results of their
Yeah.
PI and why, oh, that's why I work really well with this person, and that's why maybe I have a little harder time with this person over here, or wow, that's why I always have these types of ideas, or I'm maybe I take longer to respond to this kind of a leadership style. And
Hmm.
these aha moments that go off are just so moving and motivating, and it's inspirational, and that's what I love about Athena.
Hmm. And I definitely didn't know that much about it. I've been to some chamber related events, and I think I've gone to a mixer here or there, something more localized, but I don't think I was aware of these leadership circles and going through that process. So that's definitely something I want to look into a little bit further.
Yeah, people don't know that there is this whole world. I've gotten to know the CEO of Athena International, Tracy Costa, wonderful woman, amazing woman.
Mm.
And just, Martha was amazing. And they are working very hard as a board, as an organization right now to build the brand. And that is, excuse me, the reason that they started to do training of local level certified facilitators, so that we now are the ones that carry the message out
Right.
and take these leadership and principles and the mission of Athena out into communities on a more localized basis, because there's no way that they can from a
No.
board level. There, I mean, they don't have a physical location. They don't have everyone. There's two full-time employees and a board of directors that's very hands-on. That's why they need us, because there's just so much, and there's so many women out there that are deserving of the award.
Yeah.
Or the communities that are doing the award, there's so many women that are so deserving. It. They're people that tend to be the ones that are nominated, but there are so many women behind the scenes that are quietly
Yeah.
living the Athena model every day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to pivot a little bit and talk kind of behind the scenes on the business side of it. So we've
Sure.
talked about inspiration, how you got to where you are right now, and a lot of the passion that you have for PR and leadership and inspiring women. But there's also people out there who maybe are just trying to start a business, and
Yeah.
so they can learn from people like us, some of the things that they've gone through. what would you say is maybe a hurdle or some type of difficulty that you faced in starting or growing your business that would help somebody else that's in your shoes from 24 years ago?
First of all, I think it's the faith and belief in yourself that, yes, I
Mhm.
can do this. And it's knowing where to find a support network and
Yeah.
what you personally need for support, because that could be very different than what I needed. You might not have a brand new child
Mm-hmm.
that you're also balancing. You may have already had another career and you're
Yeah.
now starting something else that you've been waiting to do for so
Mm-hmm.
long, and you're finally able to, you've retired or whatever it is. The pandemic brought that out for a lot
Yeah.
of people. So it's a great question. Believing in yourself and convincing yourself, whether you put sticky notes all over the place with positive messages, or
Yeah.
you find a meditation, or you find a group of people in networking groups. But it's also being organized. It's
Mm-hmm.
also depending on the type of business that you have, if you need to be networking to,
Yeah.
to be out there, sometimes you don't, depending on the type of business. But
Yep.
finding out where your comfort zone is with that, because
Mm-hmm.
if you're introverted, if you are more introverted, finding a buddy that you can go
Yes.
to a meeting with so that you're not walking in alone to
Yep.
where you might not know anybody. Hey, I still don't even like doing that sometimes. I'm an extroverted introvert. I have enough introversion in me
Yep.
that sometimes I'm like, I don't, but I always end up being glad I did. I always end up being glad I did. So I would say that to them, that give it a try and try to work through. Have two questions prepared that you can ask someone if you are at an event and you don't know someone, but you know you've got to talk to somebody. Have two questions when you go in that anybody could answer, that
Sure.
anybody could answer. And to break the ice with someone, don't stand alone at a table. uh, a lot of deep breaths, a lot of deep breathing, a lot of, at the end of the day, your blessings and achievements. What did you get done that day? Even if it was one or two things off your list and you're feeling like, I didn't get anything done,
Mm-hmm.
what did you get done? What did you achieve that you're proud of?
Yeah.
What can you look in the mirror and smile and say, I did this today and it got me closer to this goal.
Right.
And tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep trying. And so I think those hurdles often are within ourselves,
Sure.
and women especially, because it's so easy for us to get pushed back and to not be taken seriously,
Yeah.
or to get funding or those sort of things. So find advocates, find allies that are out there for you. And then also hurdles of, if you do have younger kids, if you have aging parents that you're taking care of,
Mm.
if you have special needs for your own,
Yeah.
make sure you have a plan and a system. I'll call it a system instead, for how are you going to balance that, because there will never be balance.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of my kids' stuff, but I made a lot of my kids' stuff too. And yes, I had that guilt and that shame sometimes, but I wasn't the only mom who was missing sometimes.
Nope.
And my son understood. He understood. So just allow yourself those moments and forgive yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you will have lots of things that are going to be there staring
Right.
you in the face. So learn how to have a system that helps you prioritize what really needs to be done and what can wait.
Yeah. That's great advice. Um, Even after, I mean, we're coming up on 5 years now. Um, there are some days where I still have to look at the list that's there, the things I didn't get done, but remind myself of what I did get done, because on any given day, the whole day could get taken up by random things that you have
Absolutely.
not
Absolutely.
prepared for. So,
Yep.
yeah, you gotta focus on what you accomplished.
Right.
Um, you commented on like things to be proud of, and I'm curious, when you look back on all of your time in this field, what would you say you're the most proud of accomplishing?
Uh, I think it's that I have been very conscious of being a person of my word
Okay.
and doing the things that I said I would. And if I
Yeah.
can't for some reason, I will let you know why. I won't leave you hanging. I don't like it being done to me, and so I try really hard not to do it to other people. Um, but that because that says something to people about your ethics, about your
Mhm.
work style,
Yeah.
and they can count on you.
Mhm.
It builds trust. And that is why I firmly believe that to this day, that is why 90% of my business is word of mouth.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm very blessed and very fortunate because I've worked hard, I've followed through, I've done my best for people. Not
Mm.
every relationship worked out. Um, are there things I would have done differently looking back? Of course. If you didn't learn anything along the way, then
Right.
something's wrong. But I think I am the proudest of being a person of my word and doing what I said I would do and in letting people know that they can count on me and they tell other people that and that has brought people to
Right.
me and helped me to build relationships that are still so meaningful and strong
Yeah.
now and then they refer me and are
Mhm.
there for me if I need them. It's about building the relationships and
Yeah.
fostering collaboration.
And we just came full circle back to the relationship that you
We
said at the
did.
very
We
beginning. So,
did. Yeah. Yeah.
before we close out, I've got two more questions for you.
Sure.
You touched on one of them already a little bit, but just any upcoming events. So you mentioned that you've got something, I think you said in September. So if you want to share anything about events coming up, and then if you have, I think maybe you were going to have some type of a discount or a giveaway for viewers. So if you want to share about that
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I do have an Athena Leadership Circle for women that will start on September 22nd. They go for 10 weeks, so it will go to December 1st. We're going to skip Thanksgiving week because we're
Sure.
all busy and I know I'm not going to be here. That's a
Yeah.
Tuesday, there'll be Tuesday nights. They're
Okay.
online from 5:30 to 7:30. That way, no matter wherever you are, you can join.
Yeah.
And I try to do the last one when we're on the Celebrate principle in person and we have dinner and we have drinks
That's fun.
and we get to know each other because sometimes people don't see each other face to face and they really want
Yeah.
to by the end. That the leadership circle through Athena starts on September 22nd and people can go. I have a web page that they can go to or they can email me. I'm sure you'll probably provide all that
Yep.
information and I'd love to talk to them about what their goals are, what they're looking to get out of it,
Yeah.
and whether because it may not be the right time for some people. So that's starting up, and then I will do another one in the winter. It'll probably start toward the end of January or the 1st of February,
Okay.
uh, most likely. So I do two of them a year. I do, I am able to do cohorts for organizations if
Okay.
it's, for example, a membership organization or a higher ed organization
Yep.
whereby they have people that they want to feed into it and there's enough people for me to do a cohort. I will do private
Yeah.
cohorts as well for
Okay.
people off of that schedule. And then I'm sure I'll be doing more of my resilience talks and
Yeah.
possibly even starting a workshop series on that.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely put the website links, anything that we can put out there in the caption for the video so people can get right there if they'd like to
Thank you.
participate.
And
Yeah.
then as far as a giveaway, if someone registers for one of my Being Athena leadership circles,
Mhm.
I will give them a 10% discount.
Okay.
They'll have to mention this podcast and that they
Yep.
saw me, saw me on this podcast and know you and all that. Maybe know you personally, but they came from
Sure.
this podcast
Right.
for a 10% discount.
Okay.
And if they end up coming to a future resilience talk or workshop, I guess that would depend on how I'm pricing them and kind of
Sure.
where I'm at with that at the time. But if they feel like that's more what they're interested in, I'll just talk to them and we'll come up with something.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Well, I wanted to thank you again for joining me today. This has been, it's been a wonderful conversation just in general, but it's been really great to learn more about you and what you're doing and your involvement with ATHENA, because I definitely want to learn more about that. So just thank you again for taking time to be with me today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I love to talk about it, obviously. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. If you're watching and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast or you want to nominate another business, you can email Beth at cornerstonelegalpllc.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Built in the 517. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel today and support local businesses in the 517 and hear more inspiring stories.